I can still see my mother's pearls rolling into the sewer. The sound of her pearls hitting the water seemed as loud as the gunshots that night. The future's always in the process of interpreting the meaning of the past. Today on the Comic Book Report, Batman and Robin, Volume 1, Born to Kill, from the New 52. Stick around and check it out. Greetings from Gotham, everyone. My name is Dominic, and you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I've got a real treat for you all, and that is, of course, Batman and Robin from the New 52 by Tomasi and Gleason. This is the Volume 1 standard size hardcover from that run, and I can't wait to give it a review for all of you today. So why don't we go ahead and get started? First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Peter J. Tomasi and penciled by Patrick Gleason. The issues in this volume were published by DC Comics beginning in 2011 as part of their New 52. This volume collects Batman and Robin, the 2011 series, issues 1 through 8. And finally, this standard size hardcover comes in at 192 pages. At this time, I'd like to issue a brief spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at that standard size hardcover from DC Comics. I'm happy to say that this has a nice glossy print paper stock on the interiors, and on the exterior dust jacket we're treated to some of the incredible art from this series. Formatting wise, it's very similar from what you can expect from the other New 52 standard size hardcovers from this era. I know I've reviewed a couple. What comes to mind, obviously, beginnings of Scott Snyder's Batman run. Very similar in format, so it looks great on a bookcase. I love that kind of consistency. And now that we've looked at the exterior cover, I'll go ahead and transition so we can take a look at the dust jacket in fuller detail here, and I can also give you a look at the under the dust jacket actual collection we're getting, the hardback itself. Like I said, this is very much what you can expect from the hardcovers from the New 52 from this period. The hardback itself is just a black book here. It's not overly expensively made by the looks of it. Pretty simple. The title and the kind of spine details are all sort of embedded. Nothing too crazy. This is before DC was really doing the under the dust jacket artwork, which I've become such a huge fan of. But it's still a sturdily made little standard size hardcover. No real complaints here. And before we delve too far into the interiors, I'll just give you a quick look at the binding here. I think it's sewn binding, if I had to guess. It's a little hard to tell, but again, not too bad with the binding. And with all that covered, we can go ahead and begin the collection proper. First thing I'll say, I miss the days when DC was producing a lot of these standard size glossy print page books. I know that DC recently has done a lot of matte paper. I just don't like it as much as these glossy prints. I love the production value of these from about 10 years ago, and it's just really great to revisit that. Another thing I like, a lot of my volume 1s from this era as well, usually at least collect 7 or 8 issues. And I feel like nowadays we're lucky to see 5 issues with a lot of collections similar to this. Anyway, a lot of bang for your buck for these New 52 collections. I still really enjoy them. Now, going into this work itself, to give a little context for me, recently I've been hearing a lot of buzz about the Tomasi and Gleason omnibus for this run. I think it's getting a reprint next year. At any rate, I was trying to remember what run this was, and I was like, Tomasi and Gleason, that sounds familiar. I checked my bookcase, and lo and behold, I had the Volume 1 this entire time. So I decided to review it for the channel for those of you that are maybe thinking of picking up that omnibus and want a little bit more details about this series. But that being said, when I went to reread this last week for the review, I realized I'm not sure if I've ever read this all the way through. This might have been one of those books that just sat on my bookcase unread, because reading it, there was a lot that I did not remember whatsoever. And I have to say, that is to my detriment, because honestly, this was a fantastic book. So this is a New 52 era series, so post Flashpoint. So this is also really notable as an era in Batman history because this is still while Damian Wayne is a newer character. He's freshly Robin and he's still kind of getting a lot of Talia al Ghul's training kind of put into perspective by Batman. So that's really prevalent in this series because unlike maybe Snyder's Batman or the Detective Comics run of the time or some of the other titles that all have maybe their own emphasis, the real core of this series, Batman and Robin for the New 52, is very much the father-son relationship between Bruce and Damian. And you see that from even this first story arc, Born to Kill. We still have Damian kind of, rough around the edges, maybe he always is, but this is while him and his dad are still very adversarial. He's very young here, he's only 10 years old, and Bruce is trying to grapple with how to raise his son, but also let him function as Robin, and trying to vent some of the killer instincts he has in a non-murderous kind of way. I think it's very surprising in a great way how domestic this can still feel, even with all the superheroics involved. At the end of the day, Tomasi and Gleason never lose sight of the fact that at the core of this, it is a father-son story, and it really goes for the heart throughout this arc. As far as the plot goes, essentially we have an anniversary of Bruce's parents' death, and Bruce wants to invite Damian to Crime Alley to experience this night with him. Damian kind of says, hey father, people die, you kind of need to get over it, you need to stop kind of memorializing the past, and Bruce is kind of like, I agree with you, that's why I'm going to stop celebrating the anniversary of their death and start celebrating their wedding anniversary when I go to remember them. So for the last time, I'm going to go to Crime Alley on this night and I want you to be there. Really interesting too, he actually goes to the sewer under Crime Alley. We have this beautiful shot that I showed at the beginning of this video where he imagined his mother's pearls kind of falling through the sewer grate into the sewers. Anyway, kind of a powerful scene that Damian tries to trivialize, but we really see how Bruce as a father is really trying to invite his son into a very meaningful part of his life and history. And he's really showing himself to Damian in a way that it was maybe harder for him to do with the other Robins or some of these other characters in his life and in the Bat family. We also have a couple moments where we're reminded of Damian's training and his murderous kind of intentions in a lot of situations that Bruce is trying to help still. He, in this volume, actually gets a dog for him that I think Damian names Titus. We have moments where he's just trying to instill these values in Damian. But Damian feels very collared, very shut down, very left out of the loop. He's almost like, treat me like a mature man. I'm a world-class assassin and just fighting proficient, and I can do all this stuff. You don't need to treat me like a kid. And you have Bruce Wayne kind of being like, I'm your father. You're a 10-year-old boy. There's some things that you just can't experience as one this young, even given your background. So there's a lot of father-son tension here. You have this feeling that Damian feels like his father is kind of keeping him out of what's important, or, Bruce is sharing secrets with him, but his secrets have secrets, as Damian is saying. So there's a lot of hostility and tension there, and in the midst of all of that, in comes this killer who goes by the name Nobody, who has kind of weird cloaking technology and is kind of on a murder spree throughout Gotham. We don't really know what his deal is, but a couple issues in, he unmasks himself and has a situation with Bruce. We realize that there's history between Bruce Wayne and this Nobody character. He's actually the son of Ducard, who was this kind of bounty hunter, traveler guy that trained Bruce Wayne. So Nobody's name is Morgan, and there's all this history there that they hint at, but we don't see. And throughout the next couple issues, we have Morgan, Nobody, trying to almost seduce Robin to the dark side, kind of saying, your father's keeping things from you, I'll never lie to you, I'll use your instincts, I'll use your prowess, and we'll change the world together. We'll take down bad people. Just trust me. The story then evolves. We have Robin seeming to ally himself with Nobody. They go on this mission where they break into an embassy, and Nobody's kind of asking Robin to use lethal force to prove that he's broken allegiance with Batman and is willing to do what must be done to, in this case, take down kind of a human trafficker. Anyway, things get real intense. Robin pulls a gun and, shoots, but there's blanks, but it kind of proves him to Nobody. Meanwhile, Batman's trying to hunt down Robin. He's turned off his tracker. He knows that Nobody probably has ensnared him. We get some history that we see in some flashbacks between Morgan and Bruce, where basically, Ducard kind of tried to get Bruce Wayne to murder this guy, sort of indirectly, and it ends with Bruce kind of breaking allegiance with these guys. He stops his training and he throws Morgan through a skylight, and it's a situation that leaves Morgan disowned by his family and feeling like, well, nobody. The plot all culminates with Batman basically doing a rescue mission to Robin after Morgan realizes that Robin sort of betrayed him, and it's just a really powerful climax. It ultimately culminates with Robin actually murdering Nobody with this crazy head poke move that just destroys him, and Batman brings him home. They're beaten, they're battered, they're brutalized. Alfred kind of tries to get them back to health, and you have Bruce kind of taking responsibility of, I need to be more of a father to you, I need to instill even more, I need to share more with you, and I need you to kind of reject your murderous ways to be more, basically. And Robin sort of agrees, and he's going to try, and ultimately the story kind of ends with them sort of convalescing at home and playing catch with the dog. This just amazing domestic father-son scene, and it's just kind of a triumph. And even thematically, it just works, bringing everything back to that father and son core. Like I said, that's how this story functions, and even in this first arc, it is just incredible to see. The art from Patrick Gleason is just absolutely superb throughout this. The character models are all detailed, very well defined, and the artistry in this is really, I don't even know how to describe it. It's very stylized, it's not quite cartoony, but it does have some flair. The way that they sometimes depict Batman, you could definitely tell he's a creature of the shadows. There's that menace, there's that dark, scary side of Batman that Gleason just captures in the best way possible to really evoke this feeling like, oh man, this is the fear that Batman's enemies probably experience when he shows up in the night. And I love it. I love seeing that coupled with some of these sweet father and son moments. It's just a thrill to see the kind of dynamic force in this artwork throughout. It's really hard for me to describe, but it really is absolutely distinct, and it punches out for me as a Batman work. I think this art is some of my favorite Batman art I've seen. Just stylistically, it's probably closer to what I enjoy, and I was kind of surprised by that. I cannot believe I slept on this title for so long. Frankly, after reading this volume 1, I'm really eager to check out future volumes, or maybe even look into that omnibus. I do think that this is a spectacular place for a new reader. I think other than knowing that Damian Wayne is Batman's son, you don't really need to know a ton of back history to pick up this book and enjoy. Again, it's such a pivotal chapter in the history of Batman, and for those that love Damian Wayne, this is probably a must-read. I know going on further in this arc as well, this title really still continues to delve into that father-son dynamic. I've heard that it gets even better and better as you go, and this is something that I really would recommend, especially for fans of Damian and the kind of Batman mythos in general. And if you're a big fan of the New 52, this is one of its better hits in my opinion, at least from this volume 1. And after those extras in the back, we are done with today's collection. We've reached the end, and that means all that's left to do is to give this collection a grade. For one of my favorite father-son dynamics in a Batman book, coupled with consistently wonderful pencil work from Patrick Gleason, The Comic Book Report has to give Batman and Robin, Volume 1 Born to Kill from the New 52 a B+. This was such a delightful read that I cannot believe I ignored for so long. I'm eager to read Volume 2, and I was just floored by how wonderful it was to read this arc. For fans of Damian Wayne, this is required reading. And for general Batman fans, this might still be a must-read. No, it's maybe not a classic standalone graphic novel, but it's a well-written, well-drawn Batman work that is really additive to the character, especially stressing these paternal elements to Batman. Have you read the New 52 Batman and Robin series? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you for watching the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. And until next time, have a good one.